Right, so let's select the object, tap into edit mode, and the best way I'm going to do this is what I like to do. Select all of the flat surfaces on the top there, all these faces and n-gons, like that. And we're going to create an inset on these, so press I to inset. You can see we have some really nice topology going on now. And the operator panel down here, you can continue to change the size of that. Something that you're happy with. I'm going to go with something like that. Offset even is important to keep on. Some very slight changes there. So make that, enable that option there. Right, so once we're happy with that, you can see we have that nicely inset there. And for the inner sides and the outer sides, we also want to have a supporting loop on there as well. So to do that, to add an edge loop, Control R, and as you move your mouse over the object, it will create or show you where it would create an edge loop if you clicked. So let's create one on the outside there, and then right click to leave it in the middle of that area. For now, I'm just going to turn off the mirror modifier so we can see that a bit clearer. So we've added one to the outer edges or faces, but we want to also add one to the inner ones. So let's do Control R again, click, and then right click to leave it in the middle. Now we want to move these up and down so they're kind of near the top. We can do them together. So with that edge loop selected already, Alt Shift, click on this one to select it, and let's just find a space we can look at. This is a good one. And it might help to turn off the perspective view here. So you can, using this one here, this little icon will switch between perspective and orthographic views in the viewport. So I'm going to click that. So you can see there, this gap is much smaller than this one. So I'm going to move these up. And rather than using this widget over here, I'm just going to press G for grab and then Z to lock it up and down and bring that up. And another way to move things like this, you can just slide them, and you can slide elements, vertices and edges by pressing G twice. I'll just demonstrate that. GG. You can see it slides up and down the existing geometry. So I'm going to right click just to leave it there. Let's turn back on our perspective view. And that's inset made and our support loop on the outer and inner sides done. Okay, back to my little breakdown here. So we've done all of this already, and now we need to add some bevels. And let's go with a non-destructive method. Speaking of, I released a video just a few days ago called Bevel Like a Pro. So have a look at that, and in that video I'll show you 3 ways to create bevels. Some destructive, some non-destructive. So I'll be using one of those techniques in this video. What I'm going to do is tab into edit mode, make sure that I'm in edge select mode. We want to select the outer edges here and the inner edges here, which make up our puzzle shape. The next thing, we need to head over to item up here. And you can see here there's something called the mean bevel weight. If you've never used this, this is basically a good way to target edges that you want to bevel, essentially. And if I click and drag this, it goes from 0, which is the default, right up to 1. And then you have all the values between that. Now, personally, I've never used anything other than 0 or 1. So in this instance, I'm going to use 1. So it's full influence. Think of it as 100% influence. And if I click away, you can see those edges are now blue. Doesn't help that this is green. So let me just change that color. The reason it's that color is because if you remember the SVG that I showed you at the beginning, that was a green color or an aqua color. So that it inherited that when it imported into Blender, and it created a base, in fact not even a proper material, and it made it that color. So we're going to ignore that. In fact, we can just delete it like that. So if I go back to edit mode, you can see we have blue edges, which is what we want. So let's add our bevel. So now we've got those edges targeted. Let's head over to our modifiers. There's our mirror modifier. Let's turn that on. And let's click Add Modifier, Generate Bevel. And something's happened here. We've got a nice chamfer actually. And that raises an interesting point. You don't need to bevel these in a round way or smooth way. You should prefer a chamfer. And a chamfer tends to be a straight bevel, basically. So you get this diagonal cut almost. If you prefer that, then go with that. It's quite a cool look. So I'm going to go for the slightly more rounded edge. And basically, in default mode, the bevel modifier will target by angle. And here's your angle value there. However, we've already said we're going to use the weight method. So I'm going to switch to that. And there's nothing else here that we can really want to change in this example. However, having said that, actually, let me turn off or turn on the wireframe overlay so we can see what our bevel is doing a bit easier. Let me turn this to 0 for now, so you're not going to see it. Let's hold down Shift and then click and drag in that amount. That gives us a bit more control. You can see the bevel there in that area. If I click away actually and do it. I want to add 3 segments. I think in my previous video about bevels, I recommended you keep these segments even. But that, it's easy to change them. So that's mostly for the destructive method, not this method. This one can be pretty much anything you like. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Oops. Hold down Shift and make that slightly bigger. Maybe around that, 0.003. So you can see now we've got this lovely bevel on the inside and outside. One final thing to change, and I did mention this in my other video, it's a really important setting to change, is in the bevel modifier, you've got this meter outer, which is under the geometry section. That will normally be closed. Just open it up and change this to arc. Now, you may not have seen the difference. I don't know if it will make a big difference on this particular model. If I put this back to sharp, it didn't make much of a difference. But I will leave it at arc. But yeah, if you're not sure what this does, have a look at my other video and it will show you why that's really important. And that's the default it should be and what we should be using. Let's head over back to our notes. We've done it. We finished. Okay, not quite. The next step is to add, let's turn off the wireframe, is to add a subdivision modifier. Unless, of course, you're happy with the density of this topology already. However, if you plan to render this close up, you will see lots of jagged edges. Let's add a generate subdivision surface modifier to that. This is the part that may highlight any problems in your shape. So if, for example, if you remember earlier on, I showed you how to make these segments, these sectors. The subdivision modifier will highlight that as a problem. It will have a glitch somewhere. And this seems to be okay, but I'm not convinced yet. Let's make sure we check properly. But it can be a little bit hard to see with this white material. So another top tip is to head over to your rendering view modes here in the top right and switch from Studio to Matte Cap. And that gives you this really strong highlight. And that highlight will deform if your topology is like slightly off or bad. So if I do that, orbit around my shape, if I notice this highlight distorting in any particular way or a severe way, I know that I've got issues with my topology and shading. But if I flip to the underside, obviously it'd be the same because we're using the mirror modifier. And that looks really nice. I think that's absolutely spot on. Cool. So once you're happy with that, you can switch back to Studio. And then it's a simple case of adding your material. I'm going to switch that into rendered mode. I don't have any lights or welds set up, so I'm going to turn these off and use one of Blender's built-in HDRIs. So I'll use the internal room one. Internal room. Is there an external room? I don't think there is. So let's use the room HDRI anyway. And we're going to select the object and let's just change its color, something like yellow. And if you like, you can make it metallic, bring the roughness down, and now you've got this shiny object. Let me talk about the next part as well, in case you wanted to do that. And switch back to solid mode. So what I realized I could do is, let's go into edit mode on this object, and I'm going to select face selection. And we're going to select all of these inner faces. So to do that, these are face loops. They go all the way around. So I'm going to hold down Alt and click on those there. And then I can click on Shift Alt and click on that one there as well. So now we've got these two face loops inside there. And with those selected, we're going to do Shift D to copy them. And there it is. And let me just quickly turn off all these modifiers for now. So we've got that selected. There's our copy. Don't click away. And with those selected still, we want to separate them like we did before when we made the profile. So I'm going to press the P key and select selection. Tab to object mode. There's our first shape, or the one we just made. Here's the original shape. So that's the inside one. You can see there. There's our cookie cutter. Let's move that to the side over there. So now we're going to use that to build off and actually create the part on the inside at the top. So to do that, I tabbed into edit mode, edge select mode, Alt click to select the edge loop at the top, and I pressed F to fill. Now that does make a really bad mess, as you can see there. The topology is really bad. We can just select the whole N-gon and press the I key and create the inset that we made on the other shape as well. And all of a sudden, our shading problems have all disappeared. Let's turn back the modifiers. Let's turn back on the modifiers. The Subd one always takes a bit longer, strangely. There it is. And you can see we do have some issues now. So what I did then is simply go back to edit mode. In vertex mode, if you don't want to select vertices like this and press the J key to join them, which creates a cut, you can also use the knife tool. So to get the knife tool working or use it, press the K key, K for knife, and in fact, let me zoom in a bit more, and press the K key. By the way, right click to quit the knife tool. So I'm going to press K, and now we can start cutting this up in a nicer way. So maybe we can make a cut here. You can see the knife tool snap to edges and vertices. So I've snapped it to that one. I'm going to snap to this one. And then when I want to stop making cuts, it's quite easy. Just right click now. And then to commit the cut that we've defined, press the Enter key. And now we've made a cut there. So I'm going to continue doing that for just a little bit longer to tidy this up. So let's do one. Give this a bit more thought. I'm just doing this quickly. A cut there. I'm going to right click and then select that one and cut it here. Maybe cut it there. Right click, enter. And this bit here could be a problem still. So I'm going to press the K key.
A few minutes later.
So we can make another cut there. Like that. Maybe one here as well. And there you go. That wasn't so bad, was it? So I think we'll leave it there. I hope that was interesting and inspired you to make your own badges or emojis or whatever you want to call them. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.